The same thing that stops the growth of any sickness: pain, treatment, and cure. Evil is very, very costly. War, the greatest evil, is staggeringly expensive. The Pentagon loses literally billions of dollars under its couches every single year. It uses 1 million bullets to put just one bullet into another human being. War shreds economies, minds, hearts, relationships, health, wealth, freedom. War destroys civilizations. What stops war? The same thing that stops any gambling addict: running out of money. War is stopped only by poverty. When you cannot pay the soldiers, well, blessed become the peacemakers. War is limited by economics, by costs, by the hard wall of hard currency. Unless war is not free, but profitable. This is where the Federal Reserve comes in. Who pays for war? A defensive war, unprovoked and unavoidable, sure, we would all chip in for that. But a lying, swaggering, endless missile-hurling overseas mass murder? To cover current government spending, taxes would have to be raised almost 60%. We have wars and bailouts and untold bribery and tax cuts. Paid for by what? Who keeps lending to a country hell-bent on empire? No one, because war and empire drain the treasury. Look at England after the Second World War. Ran out of money and closed down the empire. Lend to warmongers, and what will they pay you back with? Broken pottery? Blood-stained bodies? Bones? Dust? Lamentations? War is not profitable. It is not a growth industry. It grows like a tumor grows, at the expense of life. How, then, is it fed? It is fed by the Fed. China has lent the U.S. a little over $1 trillion. The Federal Reserve has lent and created almost $7 trillion. $7 trillion. That's 8 times the spending on the Iraq War, 12 times the spending in Afghanistan. Over the last 6 years, there have been very few new taxes, even though total fiscal spending has risen nearly $1 trillion a year. How is this possible? It's possible. It's happening because the Federal Reserve creates the free money that makes evil profitable. $7 trillion covers the bills for a whole lot of evil. If there was truth in advertising, the Federal Reserve would have this slogan: Free Evil! Or, the Federal Reserve, turning evil into profits since 1913. And it's not just the overseas wars. How long would the $1 trillion war on drugs last if everyone got a bill for enforcing it? How long would 700+ military bases last if everyone got a bill for them? So, what is the Fed relying on? How can letting the ultra-powerful type whatever they want into their own bank accounts possibly last? The short answer is, it can't. History is littered with the dry bones of hundreds of paper currencies, not backed by gold or commodities or anything more real than the vampiric promises of politicians. But how is it lasting? Well, it lasts because we do not love our children enough. To avoid change, to avoid conflict, to avoid the peaceful revolution of real money, we are sacrificing our children. The children in pigtails, the children in the crib, the children in the womb, even the children who are as yet just a gleam in their daddy's eyes. We are Aztecs. Our children's futures are being sold on the auction block to the highest bidder to avoid conflict and virtue in the here and now. Their futures have become futures. They will be taxed at 60, 70, 80% or more to pay for this grand canyon of debt. And it will not be enough. It will never be enough, for the lords of the new serfs are insatiable, my friends. Zombies get their fill and wander off. There is no logical end to the escalation of subsidized human greed, save gulags, leg irons, and mushroom clouds. If a corporation were diluting baby food to the point where babies were starving to death, would we not act? If there was poison in the water that wrecked their livers and brains, would we not act? Our children's futures are being eviscerated, but we do not act. Thomas Paine once wrote, "If there must be trouble, let it be in my day, that my child may have peace." We avoid trouble by auctioning off our offspring. Paper money dilutes our responses, dulls our outrage, stokes our resentment against those who cry out for action, for exposure, for truth. Gold bugs, we call them. Conspiracy theorists. Paul Tards. You can always tell the pioneers, not by the wind on their faces, but by the arrows in their backs. Half the world is producing, and half the world is stealing. Stealing through inflation, through debt, through public sector pensions and free healthcare and military-industrial contracts and bailouts and government bonds. But they are not really stealing from us. That is the greatest horror. They slither like ghosts